Hey, what's up? It's Matt. We are back with another restaurant expert roundup, and we are here with Fred Langley. Fred, how are you?
Doing really good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. So I guess before we get started talking about the restaurant world and technology and all that good stuff, I guess tell everybody who you are, your business, and a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So my background is I came up in the industry as a chef. I am from California wine country. I started washing dishes in the dish pit in about 1988. I was 12 years old, and I'm about 6'4", and at 12 I was about 6 foot. So I was able to get in there because my mom, who's our director of operations here at Restaurant Systems Pro, was serving, and they said, hey, as long as your mom's working, we'll let you work. So they let me go work, and I've never stopped working, all through college, all through playing college baseball. I have always, even when I was in college baseball, I would only work like the Sunday night, like 6 to 12, just doing prep, and I stayed in it. So I've always been in it. Opened my first restaurant when I was 27. In about 2004, 2005, I became a customer of my company, and I was just implementing systems, helping my restaurant out. I was a chef owner, was figuring it out, thought I knew a lot of, and then realized, oh, I don't know anything, and then realized I always got to be learning and getting better. And so I as soon as I became a client, within about 6 months of me being a client, my ex-business partner, David Scott Peters, was like, hey, I could really use your help as a chef and restaurateur to coach restaurants. We'll just trade membership or whatever, and you can help people out. And so basically within like another month or two of me just coaching other restaurants, he's like, hey, I'm going to hire you on. And so he hired me back in 2005. I was coaching restaurants while operating multiple units, fine dining restaurant, family Italian pizzerias. And I always had to practice what I preach when I'm coaching. So as I was an operator, 2006, we had clients say, hey, this is all these systems and processes that you teach us to, increase our profits and get us more time. We're not the sexy stuff like you, which is filling seats. That's sexy. Everybody loves that. We're the doing inventory and, the not sexy stuff that still makes you money. But top line mentality with the bottom line efficiency is what we say. So anyways, people were like, hey, I want to speed this process up. What does that take? And so I started getting on a plane and doing consulting in 2006. And so over the years, I've consulted with hundreds of restaurants that I'm proud to say are still clients today. We've done seminars and training for thousands that have run through our offices here in Phoenix and all around the country, and just serving the restaurant world well, even through the pandemic.
Awesome. And you're located in Phoenix. Is it Phoenix?
That's Phoenix, Arizona. Yep. And we have clients all over the country, from Canada, one in China, a couple, a handful all around the world, but mostly US and Canada.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now you say what you guys teach and what you do isn't sexy, like, and you're right. The marketing, I always joke that people have a much easier time getting involved with things like that because they seem a little funner. But at the end of the day, what you're teaching is the backbone. It's the things that if you're not watching, they crumble. I had a consultant one time that came in when we had the boat dealership, and he taught us this analogy of you can take a jar and put 3 rocks in it, and you can easily dump 3 rocks out of a jar. But if you take a jar, put 3 rocks, and pack it with sand, it's going to be harder to get out because you just packed a bunch of things. I kind of look at what you guys do from what I've seen on your content and your website and some of the stuff you put out there, that you're helping eliminate the sand because you got to have those things in place.
Absolutely. We are, we help we make the hard thing of running a restaurant a little bit easier. It's still hard. You still have to count inventory, but we make counting inventory easier. You still have to write a schedule, but we make writing a schedule easier and easier to disperse and easier to communicate with our apps. We have digital checklists that make checklists easier, but you still got to have a checklist. You still got to have those systems in place.
So looking back at the Fred from mid-20s in the restaurant business, what are the top 3 things you would tell yourself that now from dealing with hundreds and I'm guessing thousands of restaurants, but what would be the 1, 2, 3 things you would tell yourself then if you were starting a restaurant?
hmm Yeah, realize that you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. And coming up, I came up in fine dining. I was trained by a classically trained European chef, and then I was into the fine dining scene, one of the top wine country restaurants there. And there's an arrogance in fine dining that is sort of like, hey, we have it all figured out because we know how to break down a chicken and make chicken stock out of the bones. But yet there's so much waste before that we were not even operating clearly how we could have in the fine dining world, but yet there's this arrogance where as chefs we think we have it figured out. So definitely, you don't know as much as you don't as you think. You don't know what you don't know, and always be seeking knowledge and information, and always be trying to get better. That's one. Know that, hey, building sales is sexy. Or two, building sales is sexy, but you can, it's like you were talking about the rock analogy. If you didn't put the sand in there, you had 3 rocks in your jar, well, you could put 20 rocks in that jar, but it's just as easy to dump out 20 rocks as it is 3.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not controlling the bottom line and only growing the top line, then you're just kind of working against yourself. And I see people do it a lot too. They grow sales, but that's going out the back just as fast. And then the next thing is always know it's a process. Just be 1% better all the time. If you're 1% better every day for a year, you'll be almost 38 times better. 3,800% better. 1% increments, just a little bit better every day. You'll look back and you'll see massive change.
So going back to when you say control your bottom line, you said something that triggered a bad memory for me. We had a boat and RV dealership. So me and my dad and brother, the way I got into the internet marketing side of things was back in 1999. I built a website for a business my brother, my dad, and myself started. It was a boat and RV dealership. And we grew from 0 to 15 million in about 4 years, annual sales. And I remember looking at our P&L and then looking back, because like when we got to the 15 million point, we were less profitable than we were at 5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it was comical to me. We had we were so fat and happy. We were overstaffed. We thought we needed to be everything to everybody. I see that with restaurants. Like some restaurants want to have a menu item for every single person. They're scared to not have it, even if it only means like they're going to use those ingredients once every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a key to that. That's one thing I noticed. I remember we're at a trade show one time, and this guy named Noel, who was a big dealer of the same brand we had, and we got to talking, and he said, "Matt, can I give you a piece of advice?" And this guy always pulled up in $1 million Prevost motorhome to the dealer meetings. He had just gleaned expertise. I said, "Dude, of course, I'm like in my 20s, and you're in your 60s, and you could do a lot more in life than I have, or you've done a lot more than I have." I said, "What you got?" And he said, "Have you ever seen me on stage?" Because we share like 3 manufacturers, and we were at each other's dealer meetings all the time for years. And I said, "Man, no, I never have." He said, "Because it doesn't matter the reason you're on stage is how much you bought, not how much you sold." And he said, "I focus on margin. Yeah, you might do 3 times more in sales than me a year, but I make 5 times more than you on what I sell." And I think that kind of goes back to what you're talking about, the bottom line.
And that's not just about the money. That's about having a life. That's about being there for your family, being in the right state of mind for your employees, being a good leader. In the restaurant industry, there's this mentality that I have to work 80 to 90 hours a week if I'm going to be a reality in the business. It's just something that comes with the business. And I think that's toxic for the business as a whole, that you can have a life, you can be profitable, and you don't have to work 80 hours a week. You have nothing to prove to anybody. Everybody wants your best self as a leader in your restaurant.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think sometimes myself, we all get trapped in the hustle, grind, run. And if people that know me know that there's a reason I wear orange Jordans most days of the office, because I go shoot basketball a lot. There's a pool in here. There's a basketball court there. I own a gym that I'll go to all the time. You got to be you too. I go to my kids' football practices all the time. My daughter's here. You got to be involved.
It's important. It's really important. You're not gonna look back over your life. Don't get me wrong. Profits are important, but you're not gonna look back over your life and wish that you had more money. You're gonna wish you had more time.
And more
yeah, absolutely. Can I share something? When you talked about memories, and if that's okay. So we talk about memories in the restaurant business all the time, and we want to create experiences for people. And one thing that stands out as a memory, you shared a negative memory, right? But what happens is our emotions are tied to memories, right? And when we apply that to the restaurant business, it really can change how we view the guest experience. I talked about being an arrogant chef in my youth, right? I had it all figured out. I knew everything. And my goal in opening my restaurants was I'm going to create food that is so good that somebody's going to have an emotional experience just by taking a bite of my food, right? And that's pretty arrogant to say, hey, that's my goal. But it's also, hey, I'm going to set big goals, uh, big dreams, and I'm going to get people around me that share these goals, and we're going to go in this direction. And it's going to be the best servers, with the best training, the best wine knowledge, and they're going to share the passion for the industry that I have. And so I had these interview questions because I knew that I wanted to have like-minded people working for me. And the interview question was, tell me about a food moment that you've had in your life, right? And 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 when I asked them to share, I was looking for this chef, this many courses, this restaurant, this atmosphere, white linen, tablecloth, celebrity, whoever, that's what I was looking for them to share with me about these food moments.
Yeah.
And I asked these candidates about their food moments, and I got a hot dog at the ballpark with my father, who I dearly miss. I got picking blackberries in my aunt's backyard in the summertime with my cousins growing up. I got grandma's apple pie. And for me, it was an epiphany. And that epiphany was, it's not all about me. And that all ties back to, we teach steps of service and all the things along the way. But the epiphany was that the memories and the emotion that are going to be achieved in a restaurant, they don't come from you. They come from the person that they're with. So if I have my wife on my arm and I'm walking in and we're not greeted right away, we're going to leave our conversation. We're going to leave the connection with one another. And what we'll do is we'll say, hey, do we sit ourselves? What do we do? We don't know what to do. Are we supposed to wait here at the podium? What do we do? But if a bartender just goes, hey, somebody will be right with you, we're actually relaxed, so we can go right back to our conversation. If my steak's overdone, or if I don't have a steak knife with my steak, if I don't have lemon for my iced tea, if my drink is empty, I leave the moment. And the more we can keep people connected with one another, the more chance that there's going to be emotions and there's going to be memories created in your restaurant. And so when it comes to steps of service and all that, if you start with the foundation of merely keeping people connected with one another, those steps of service will fall in place. And then also, when you have the 18-year-old busser and you go, hey, the iced tea's empty, they're not going, why are you such a jerk? If we're all on the same page and we know what it could mean to have an empty iced tea at a table, and that it's all about keeping people connected with one another so that there's a chance for that emotional experience and those memories, then we have something. And even the negative things, if you have a negative memory that's been created, great. Now I can go turn it around before they leave. And negative memories, positive memories, or negative emotions, positive emotions create memories no matter what. And it's what we're going to do with them. And that's where you can create really, truly great experiences in your restaurant.
No, I couldn't agree more. We have, when you said the hot dog at the ballpark, I think we all can relate to those times. I mean, I think back to when I was a kid. I joked in the past that I used to think my mom couldn't cook as a kid because we ate out so often. Well, what it was my dad was an insurance agent. They had a ton of restaurants as clients, and he used dinner most nights a week as a way to go patronize his clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, I remember so many times with my dad, prime rib at Mike Pink's, and my mom and dad, buffalo wings at Barleycorns. And you make those connections, you remember those memories. And that's exactly right. I think a lot of times I always tell, when I talk to restaurants, I talk to people that are working in the restaurant business, I'm like, you got to realize I'm unusual. I can afford to eat out 10 to 15 times a week. And we do. A lot of people can afford to eat out once or twice. And when they go that once or twice, it's important. It's it's their night with their wife. It's their favorite meal. The food, everything makes to it. But like you said, that just interrupts the conversation and the flow of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot more fun to care about people, right? And it's okay to upsell them, right? Because it's not just upselling, I'm improving an experience every time I recommend something. If I recommend dessert, am I trying to get more money out of you, or am I trying to make you have a better time when you're out? It's
I talked to his name's escaping me right now, but he's got a deli brand up in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed him 2 years ago for one of my lives like this. And he said, we don't look at it as upselling. I look at it as, this is a good sandwich. But if my employee asks you what you like, and he finds out that you love jalapenos and you liked pepper bacon and you're an A1 freak, if we can make that burger better, that all of a sudden you just had a better meal, you might leave a better review, you might come back, you might tell a friend, you might take a picture of it. He really hammered that home, and it really made sense to me.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. Yeah.
So go back to the 1% better every day, because one thing I try and do, I try to work twice a day. I have now 32 days in a row, twice a day. I try to, on a daily basis, tell my kids and my wife I love them. But from a business standpoint, my goal is if I can accomplish one task a day. Because a lot of people, I used to have this habit, and a coach told me this one time. I had like 5 projects going at once, and they were all half-assed done. He's like, Matt, you got the Ohio River right next to your office, right? Yeah. He goes, imagine you just built 5 partial bridges. If you go across the bridge, you're in the water. He's like, why don't you build one bridge at a time? He's like, if you can accomplish one bridge every day in a year, you'll have built 52 operational bridges versus maybe 20 partially built bridges. I kind of get the same vibe from you there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all in small, and it comes with working out. If you set these big goals, you're going to be constantly defeated. Just be easy on yourself. Do a little bit every day. Don't let the world beat you down, because when you look back, in fact, there's a chart that you can look up. It's from the guy that wrote Atomic Habits. That's a really good book that I recommend. And it means atomic on a small level, right? And what it is, the author's escaping me right now. But if you can do everything in little pieces, over time it builds up. From working out, you get back into it. Honestly, if you're just trying to get back into working out, to set a goal of working out twice a day may not be the best thing for you, right? Because you may fail right away and get defeated. So if you're just getting back to working out, set some smaller goals, right? That you can accomplish, and then build upon that. And then eventually you'll get to be where you're working out twice a day, right? If you're losing weight, no matter what it is you're doing, just do a little bit towards your goal every day, and set a goal of improving a 1% better every day, because I know I can do that. I know I can accomplish it. But you take a calculator out and you take 1.01 to the 365th, and you'll be 3,800 times better after 365 days. It's incredible.
And something I think that piggybacks on that 1%, a friend of mine pointed this out to me at a seminar earlier this year. He said, who in here could make a checklist of their top items to do the next day, every day? And people are like, oh, I could. He's like, what if I told you could spend 1% of your day? Now, I want to say the number, I think it was 15 minutes, if I remember correctly. Okay. I don't know if my math is right. Let's do the math. It's 60 minutes times 24 hours. Times 0.01. Yeah, 14.4 minutes.
Okay.
Right. 1%'s a little of your day. And he was like, yeah. He's like, oh, good. 1% of your day, sit down and write out your goals for the next day. Because if you go into the next day with no goals, you don't have a vision. You can't maybe delegate those goals, make 5 goals, delegate them.
Yeah, but a bunch of half bridges, right?
And the 1% thing really hit with me, because that is a little of your day. But how many times do we not do stuff? Like me, I try and read 10 to 20 pages a day. It takes 15 minutes. Imagine if I do that the next 30 years, I might actually be smart in 30 years.
How many books, right? Yeah. How many books?
Okay.
Yeah, and reading. I love that you're doing that, and reading a little bit every day is such a good practice, because there's people that have figured it out before you, and the more we can realize that and soak up that knowledge, the better we are. Now,
the one thing I have found, and I want to get to the last question for you. One thing I found with reading is I've learned from a friend of mine, Mike Arcee, 2 years ago. He said he picks one topic, and all he reads books on that year are that topic. He says, you know what? I need to get better at this with my company.
Yeah.
How do I get better this year? I'm going to read books every month on this topic. And at the end of the year, I'll have such a width of knowledge on that topic. It'll help me out.
You know what I'm hearing and learning about you right now, Mike, is you have coaches, right? Yeah. You're good at what you do. You're probably one of the best at what you do, right? But you still have coaches. And that's important to have a coach. Tiger Woods has a coach.
Yep.
And it's important
Brady's got a
to get that knowledge. That's right. That's right. So no matter how good you are, what you're doing, to have a coach, have somebody keep you accountable, to see if you're on track, and help you along the way, and give you the tidbits that keep you going in the right direction is really awesome.
Okay. So speaking of coaches, tell us about you. Tell us about Restaurant Systems Pro.
Yeah. So we do coaching. We coach restaurants and their systems and processes that get them more time and increase their profits. We are essentially franchise systems for the independent operator that doesn't want a franchise. So our software, we've been programming it since 2010, and have put millions into it. There is integrations. There's scheduling. There's proactive management. You'll find there's other software out there, but we are really big on the proactive management tool. One example of how that works is we're gonna have big picture financial goals, right? And so let's say that labor is one of those goals, and we have a certain labor percentage we want to hit. Well, that's a big picture goal for your management team. What the systems do is they break down those goals into smaller bite-sized pieces. So you may have this big picture financial goal, and it's broken down to how many host hours you can schedule, right? And a lot of times I say host hours because that's a lot of times the first schedule that somebody writes when they're learning to do scheduling and coming up as a manager. And we give them a system. We give them parameters to operate on and say, this is how many host schedule hours you get. And then they write their schedule in the system, and it compares their schedule proactively before the clock ticks on how many hours that they've scheduled. And now that manager can come back to you and gives you control over your business while delegating this stuff without abdicating the responsibility, right? So you're giving them responsibility, but they're also giving parameters and systems to follow that will make them successful at their job. Now, if let's say they're over $100 on their schedule. Well, you can either approve that or not. They have to come to you, though, and negotiate with you. Boss, I'm over 100 hours because this person's training, this person's off, this person doesn't normally host, and so we have to have two, or whatever the reason is, they have to justify it. You can't just look back at your books 3 months later and go, oh, well, we lost money. But we have to know exactly before the clock ticks, control it. Before we place an order, how much money should we be spending? How much of each item should we be ordering? And then be accountable to those things while we delegate them to other people in the business to control.
Yeah, what you just told me there was, I think of a cheat sheet. And I remember back when we were in the boat business, we were an independent, we were doing 15 million a year, and that was big. And I would go to Mercury and I'd say, hey, what should my numbers be? And they'd go, we don't know. Like nothing was system, but nothing was like systematized. And when I was talking to friends of mine that were in the automotive sector, one guy was a Chevy dealer, and he knew that if every month I sold this many cars and did this much in gross sales in my parts, service, and sales, here's what my overhead was going to be. Here's how much my mechanics were going to make next month. Obviously, you can't control electric and the water bill and the mortgage, but all his controllables, his comment to me was, Matt, in the car business with what Chevy gets us, if you go out of business, you either have a gambling problem or a drug problem, because every month they have the systems down that, hey, this is what it needs to look like based off last month. That's kind of what I heard from you there, because you mentioned like you give the independent what a franchise gets from the franchise, but you're giving that independent the ability to kind of predict those things.
Yep. And we even do it to the bookkeeping level, to where we're getting your books to you. We've added bookkeeping services in the last 15 months, and it's extremely successful for us, because not only we're budgeting the financial success, then we're giving you the systems and every step of the way on how you achieve that and how you delegate it to your entire team to work towards your goals. And then we're getting your books out to you, and we're comparing your books side by side with what those original goals were, those standards that we know. And they're different for every restaurant, but prime cost is a number that we go to. You'll get your weekly prime cost numbers. You get proactive targets, so you know if you're on target before you make any decisions. And then you get those weekly prime cost reports that tell you if I'm on target with my profitability. And then your books. We work with QuickBooks. We have an integration with QuickBooks, so you still maintain control of your books, but yet you're doing everything in Restaurant Systems Pro. And the technology allows us to do it at an affordable price, because we're able to feed all this information over to QuickBooks and get your books out to you very quickly. And in real time, and then you can react to it.
Yeah. And it reminds me, I think my bookkeeper, Chris Rogers, called you and said, tell Matt that, because I have a Google sheet that I need to give him some updates on so he can finish my books.
Well, our clients don't need to worry about it because we go right into their system. We pull everything we need to know. We go and we do all the reconciliations and credit cards. Like I said, it's hard stuff, but we make it easier, and we know they're busy doing other things, so we take care of all of it for them.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate the nuggets of information there. Those will undoubtedly help people that we put out in the internet world. They can check it out and reach out to you if they need help. Is the website the best way to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, the website's there. Follow us on Facebook, Restaurant Systems Pro, Instagram at Restaurant Systems Pro, and YouTube. We have a ton of content on YouTube. We have lots of followers, lots of stuff out there, and that's going to be Restaurant Systems Pro as our YouTube channel as well.
Nice. I'll have to check you out on YouTube as well. So cool. Well, I appreciate your time. And if you're a restaurant out there looking to get those systems and advice and procedures that maybe the big boys have and you don't have them, or maybe you are part of a franchise, because not all franchises are built the same.
No, we have a lot of young franchises in our system too, and we're doing some white labeling for them and stuff, which is pretty neat.
Okay, cool. Well, so reach out to these guys, let them know how they can help you, and I appreciate you being a guest today.
Thank you, Matt.
Hey, thank you.